What up? What up? We are here. It is Justin and Kariemah, Golden Spaces. We are here to talk about the Warriors getting absolutely demolished by the Boston Celtics today. Fun, entertaining game. We got to see the Guy Santos and Jerome Robinson led Warriors beat the Celtics in the fourth quarter. That's the only quarter we won by 1 point.
Oh, look at us winning fourth quarters now.
I know, right?
Look at the positive. Look
There
at
you
that.
Go. We're leaving here with something. But just in case you didn't watch the game or look at the score, the Celtics beat the Warriors 140-88, which I believe is a top 5 worst loss in franchise history based on, point differential. And from the jump, the Warriors just were very unserious in this game. The story of the game, obviously, is the Warriors' game plan to leave Jaylen Brown open from 3 as if he's Ja Morant or Giannis Antetokounmpo. And he scored 19 points in the first quarter. Maybe more. But
it felt like more, that's for sure.
Felt like 30.
Yeah.
And apparently this game plan was devised and implemented 15 minutes before they left the locker room, it said, from Draymond Green. And they just said, hey, let's just try it and let's see what happens. So this is 100% a schedule loss. I don't think they went into this game thinking they were going to win. I think they were just going to see where they were. And then okay, if we got a chance to win, we'll go for it. But if not, whatever. And it came back to bite them early. So the game was pretty much done by the end of the first quarter. And yeah. What do you think of the game?
Well, yeah, it was a complete shellacking. But to hear that 15 minutes prior to going out there, they said, hey, let's just try this. Let's see what happens. To me, that kind of is just like, we're out there trying to see if what other maybe game plans work against them that they can kind of take with them moving forward. So I'm not mad at you thinking, let's just try it. And they tried it and it didn't work. Unfortunately, I think they could have lived with, all right, if he just hit maybe 4 of them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But he just kept doing it. But I feel like there still should have been some type of an adjustment from Draymond, like seeing it happen in real time, knowing, yeah, that was your game plan going into it. But as you saw how he was shooting it, I think maybe Draymond, I think you're smart enough that you'd be like, you know what? I'm going to actually close out to him a little bit more so that he doesn't get off to this amazing start, because I was actually shocked that he was hitting those just cleanly. So it's like, all right, that didn't work. And then it just seemed like we couldn't hit anything, but every single Celtic could hit everything. It was like what, game 1 all over, in the playoffs, in the finals, I should say, 2 years ago. So, here we are. But again, like you said, we chalk this up to probably a scheduled L, especially with our road trip and coming off a back-to-back and everything like that. So it was kind of like the makings of, we might not win this game, but I also didn't think going into it we would get bulldozed in this fashion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was just a perfect storm of everything. Like, they didn't expect to put their best foot out there, just given the circumstances of this past week. For those who are unclear on what that is, they played in New York. Then they had plane difficulties traveling from New York to Toronto. So they didn't get into Toronto until 8 a.m. the next day, the same day that they were playing Toronto. And then they played Toronto that night, obviously got a win. Pods is hurt and out. Wiggins is away from the team, currently dealing with family issues. And Steph has knee bursitis that he played through as well. So 100% schedule loss. In circumstances like that, usually, like if you don't get any sleep and you do something like it doesn't really affect you. At least in my experience, it doesn't really affect you until the next day and the day after that. Mm-hmm. That's when you really start feeling tired, when you haven't gotten enough sleep. So it's the end of the road trip. they went into Boston like, whatever, and they got destroyed. And it was, they caught the Celtics at the perfect time for this to happen because the Celtics are on like an 11-game winning streak now, and I think the average margin of victory is something like 20 points. They've just been absolutely blitzing every team that they play over the last few weeks. So, and they're at home, and it's the Warriors, which you're going to get your best, get your opponent's best. So,
right, because the last time they saw them, didn't go their way. So, of course, this is kind of like their get back.
Yeah. The last few times they've seen them in regular season, the Warriors just always seem to have their number in some way. And, I'm sure they circle this game every time they play the Warriors, they circle it. But, yeah, they hit 25 threes, which is ridiculous. And, yeah, it's just it happens sometimes. Like, you don't get beat like this, but schedule losses happen all the time. And it's on the Warriors to wipe it clean because they did get a chance to rest their main guys in the second half. Chris Paul wanted to get a little bit more reps in,
right?
Him and Dario, and it's just looking like that's cooked completely. So I don't know about Dario going forward, but Steph, Clay, Dre, Kuminga, all those guys got rest in the second half, and they should be better against Milwaukee on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think so. We're going back home, so that should just kind of like get the juices flowing, back again. Hopefully with this time off, Stephen can get better, that knee gets better. And we already know that Pods will be back come Wednesday to face the Bucks. So looking forward to that. And yeah, Dario's shot is now non-existent. So, he got to show what he could do in this game, and he still had to get pulled. So, hey, we couldn't even afford to play him in garbage time. And so that's where we are with Dario. And that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. I guess we can highlight a few players that had that we can take something from this game from. Obviously, Moses Moody started for Wiggins, and he led the starters in scoring, 11 points in 19 minutes. He had 4 rebounds. He had a few good defensive possessions out there, 1 turnover, 1 foul. But he just continues to show he needs to stay in a rotation, right? He can play against these teams, right? He probably shouldn't be starting against the Celtics, but he can at least compete with them. And we've seen at this point, Dario and Loon can't at this point, right? Loon's missing layups. He's not doing well on switches. They're not even letting him switch anymore. It's just kind of like a hedge and recover type of thing. And if he can't be that mobile big that he was a few years ago, then it's just really no point in playing him because he's not going to give you much offensively anyway, especially when he's lacking his mobility. So we're going to continue to push for more Moses Moody minutes. Trey Jackson-Davis, 22 minutes. He had 8 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks. Now, there was a stretch there where Luke Cornett just kind of outplayed him. He was just a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger than him. But, it's just better than what we were getting from Dario and Looney. So I think he should continue to play as well. Anybody else kind of stand out to you?
Not really, because I can't even highlight Lester, even though he had his high, because he actually looked like he was a bit nervous out there. He was just doing some sporadic stuff and then just shooting just at ill times. I was just like, Lester, calm down, buddy. It's okay. Yeah. So, I think Moses is a good call out because he actually came out looking like he was still ready to go and everything. So that's good. Kuminga, he didn't pick his spots, I think, properly in this game. And again, that's just making notes for him to improve the next go round that we face the Celtics. So this game, it's kind of any highlight. Yeah. Flush it. That's a good one.
Yeah. I think they were just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, right? Giving the ball to JK in the mid post, in the low post, in isolation against their players. Didn't necessarily go well, but like you said, he can learn from this experience. Like guys like Drew Holiday, you're not just going to put under the basket. He is one of the best post defending guards maybe ever. So that's just something that JK's got to figure out. Maybe go to a post fade or something a little bit more, or try to get other guys involved in those situations. He had like Tatum ISO'd a few times, didn't go well. Like Tatum's an excellent one-on-one defender as well. So this is good for JK just to see like, okay, there's another level I can get to, right? I know I said me one-on-one against anybody, they can't stop me, but there's players in this league that can stop, bro. Like there's players in the league that can stop, LeBron in certain situations and Luka and stuff like that. So there's definitely gonna be players that you run into that you're gonna have some issues against. We saw it against Aaron Gordon as well. So there's a different level that JK needs to be able to reach for this team to be able to, really, really compete and beat some of the top teams in the league. And maybe it comes this year, maybe it comes next year, later than that. But at least he's getting the reps against these type of players now.
Yeah.
And I think this is the perfect type of game for that because it was like a game that they knew they were not going to
win. Yeah. But you know what? Even though we got just ran through, they still had a level of like their spirits were still high. There wasn't, I mean, granted, Steph, you saw there was some emotion when he didn't get that help from Lester. Like it was like, ooh, okay. Because you saw that at least they were trying to make a push to be like, listen, okay, we're not just going to completely just like, wave the white flag. Let's see if we can get into this game a little bit more before the half. Let's just see that. And, it didn't go that way, but at least they still came out, sat on the bench, and kind of still cheered on the rest of the players that were out there playing. So, they just wrote it off, but spirit, they weren't, down. So,
right.
That's good.
Right. So, like we said, flush this one down the toilet, looking forward. Just from a standpoint of the discussion about the team after the game, a lot of people are saying, oh, they can't beat good teams. They can't beat contenders. What is their record against 50 pace, like teams on pace to win 50 games? It's not great. I believe like with Draymond playing, when they play teams on that pace, they're like 2-7 or something like that. Now, my rebuttal to that is like, how many of those games were they at full strength, right? Like, I don't know how many people follow me on Twitter, but I put out a tweet earlier today that's pretty much said like, these are the Warriors' top 6 players. That's Steph, that's Draymond, that's JK, that's Clay, that's Wiggins, that's CP3. Those are your 5 of your top 6 salaries. And then JK obviously has a higher role than Looney, who would be your 6th highest salary. So those are your top 6 players. Now, Paz has stepped up and Gary and all that type of stuff, but those are your main guys. They've played 10 total games with all 6 of those guys playing.
Wow.
10. And majority, matter of fact, all of them have came before the trade deadline, while Clay and Wiggins were still struggling early in the season, before JK did his press run and got put into the position that he is now.
Right.
Before Looney got taken out of the starting lineup. So it's a completely different team now than when that was the case. And they went 8-2 in those games. Still. Now, did they play against juggernaut teams every single time they played? Obviously not. But we just haven't seen this version of the Warriors with all 6 of those guys playing at the same time. That's when we can really make a true assessment of this team and say, okay, they can compete with this team. They can beat this team, like all the upper echelon teams in the league. And even without those guys playing all those games, how many blown leads do we have against contenders? Blew a lead against OKC, blew a lead against the Clippers, blew a lead against the Nuggets. Yeah. Now, great teams shouldn't be blowing leads, obviously, but that suggests, okay, there's at least a pocket here where the Warriors found something where they can get up big on these good teams. Like there's an advantage that the Warriors have against these teams. They just have struggled to sustain that advantage. And I'm sure that's connected to them not having all their best players playing in those games. So my assessment is like, just chill. They don't play that many. I think they play 2 teams for the remainder of the season that are on 50-win pace. I think it's Milwaukee coming up and then Minnesota later on. Every other team that they play is either in the same realm of win percentage as them or below, like tanking teams. So they should win a lot more of their games going into the playoffs, and hopefully they avoid the play-in. But I think it's okay to say, okay, like they still got a chance to do something in the playoffs. I just wouldn't completely write them off against any teams just because, they may face a second or third seed in the first round or something like that, or maybe in the first seed.
Right. I agree. I mean, we still got to see them all together and see what we can do.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully the situation that Wiggins is going through isn't extended. And whatever he's going through is like resolved and his family's okay. So he can get back to the team and get back to the team in a right mind and not still, dealing with whatever he's dealing with. Right. Then you can really see this team, see what they really can do, because he's turned the corner as a player at this point. He was, abysmal to start the season, to say the least. And now he's looking a lot better and looking a lot closer to what he was, years ago.
Right.
So you get that. You get Clay in his new role. You get CP3, back and healthy and hitting his jump shots again, even though he didn't hit them today.
Right.
You got JK in his new role and elevated and, playing like the good player that he is now. And I think this team is a team that a lot of players or a lot of teams don't want to see, to be honest, because, the Warriors are the Warriors at the end of the day. So hopefully Wiggins can get back sometime soon.
Yes, we hope. I think hopefully on this, when we get back home, that he should be returning. I mean, that's the hope. And we'll see how that goes, but keeping our fingers crossed that everything works out well for him as well, and he can get back to us.
Yep. So let's just examine, I guess, what they have left for this season. I believe they have 21 games left. They are 32 and 28. So what is that? 22 games left?
What was that number?
22.
Again?
That's 22 games left, right?
Okay.
They're 32 and 28, which means that they've played
50 games?
60.
No, 60 games, yeah.
Yeah, they played. So they got 22 games left. Like I said, Milwaukee and Minnesota are the only two teams left that are on 50 win or better paces. So that's 20 teams, that aren't world beaters by win percentage standards. They play Chicago, San Antonio twice, San Antonio 3 times. They play Memphis again. They play Orlando and Charlotte. That's 7. They play Houston and Utah twice and Portland. So that is 11 games against teams that you absolutely should beat. Like just based on record, it's 11 gimmies right there. Now, are they going to go 11-0 in those games? I hope so, but it's possible.
Hey,
it's not likely.
Possible.
Yeah. So at worst, they should go like 9-2 in those games, really. Which means that will put them at 41 wins, and then they have 11 games against teams that are either on a similar path as them or better. Now, if you can go 7-4 in those games, 8-3, that would be amazing, and that will put them, 17 win. That would put them at like 49. It would be crazy if they somehow win 50 games this season. That would be insane, to be honest.
Insane.
But
I didn't even realize that we still had the Timberwolves to play. I just felt like we played them so many times already that we were done. But they get to sneak back in one last time.
Yeah,
that would be an interesting game.
Yeah, that should be an interesting game. It's going to be in Minnesota.
Ooh.
But Minnesota's struggling a little bit right now with their offense. I think, they don't have a lot of offensive firepower there. They have Ant, who's like still a young player figuring it out. Cat is like, a little soft. Rudy Gobert, hell of a defensive player, but he's limited offensively. And the other pieces they have aren't really great offensive players. So I think the Warriors, the new look Warriors, may present some issues for them. It's because of the speed that they play with and the way they spread the floor on offense, stuff like that. So that should be a good matchup. And it's the same thing with Milwaukee. Like Milwaukee's having some issues defensively. They're trying to figure it out still. They're getting better, but they aren't built to guard the Warriors' spread attack. They aren't built to guard the team, shooting off the dribble like that because they play drop coverage on defense a lot of the time and they don't have great perimeter defenders. So that should be a good game. Hopefully Golden State shows up and shows out for that game because they will be at home first night of a back-to-back. They're going to have a few days of rest going into that game. And we should be able to see them put their best foot forward.
I mean, I think we have a really great shot to, on this homestand, go 3-0. Really. I do think we've got a really good shot at doing that. And coming off of such a good road trip, that should fuel us to even say, hey, now let's super, super lock in and protect home court because we haven't been doing such a good job at that. So I'm looking forward to them matching up against Milwaukee for sure.
Yeah, the toughest game in their 3-game homestand is Milwaukee, and it's the first game. Right. So you got all your energy there. You just came off with an embarrassing loss, so they should be trying to bounce back in a major way. You should beat Chicago at home. You should beat San Antonio at home. And then you got a little 3-game road trip from there.
Yeah.
San Antonio, Dallas, Lakers, but the games are pretty spread. There's no back-to-backs and stuff. So that would be a nice test for them as well.
Yeah. But, good thing we're sitting still locked in at 9 because everybody else lost.
Everybody else lost.
And when that happened, I was really hoping. I was like, woo, now we go in here to Boston and really, but again, an early game, last, road game. It's like the scheduling there was really piss poor. And it's like, and it's televised and you want people to watch, but it's like, guys, you set yourself up for failure. Like if you thought that this game was going to do the numbers that you wanted it to do, if you scheduled it a bit better, it probably would have. But here we are.
They always screw the Warriors over with scheduling. Like,
it
doesn't make any sense, like you said, from a television product and entertainment standpoint. Like you want these type of games to be both teams going in healthy, rested, so you can get the best possible game, but they just be like, whatever. Like, Warriors. But just looking at the standings, like you said, the Mavericks have lost their last 2 games. The Lakers lost their last game. The Suns lost last night. They play again tonight against the Thunder, so hopefully that's another loss because the Timberwolves have lost 2 in a row, and the Thunder can like firmly go ahead of them as far as first seed. They're the first seed anyway, but like
this can actually
it will break the tie, I think. So they will be like firmly in first seed. So hopefully they should be playing hard for that. And just looking at the standings, the Kings, Suns, and Pelicans all have 25 losses. The Mavericks have 27, the Warriors have 28, and the Lakers have 29. So literally, every game changes the standings. Like every game changes, every loss changes the standings. The Warriors should hope to stay at 28 losses for a little while here because the other teams are going to lose soon. And you can find yourself shooting up to 5th, given the right luck and a good run. That would be crazy. Like I said, if they somehow win 50 games and end up at like 5th place, they would have to see the Clippers in the first round. But I don't think they're too worried about the Clippers.
And
because
again,
that would be a hell of a run. A hell of a run,
exactly.
Right there. I mean, hopefully OKC. In that case, hopefully OKC holds on to first, or maybe Minnesota gets first. You just kind of want to avoid Denver for as long as you can, I think.
Yeah.
Just from like a logistic standpoint, they're the best team out of those top 4 teams, in my opinion. So you want to just hold off on playing them for as long as possible. And I would prefer probably to play either the Timberwolves or the Thunder in the playoffs over the Clippers or the Nuggets, just because Kawhi and Jokic are much more proven players than Anthony and Shea.
Right.
And I think, the Warriors' experience would give them the edge over either of those 2 younger teams. But that's down the road. Just win as many games as possible, stack wins.
Win and get in. Let's go.
Get in. Out of the play-in. get out of the play-in and see where you can go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we can hope for.
It's all we can hope for. So yeah, just to recap, the Warriors don't have a lot of tough games left, so they should win a lot more games. There is a path for them to win 50 games. They would have to only lose 4 more. But it's possible because they're playing a lot of decent, like weird, like in the middle teams.
Right.
And yeah, I think it counts a lot on the team getting whole and healthy at the right time as well. But they should be primed to go on a little run here. So let's hope we can get that going.
Let's hope.
And we're going to go up from here. You got anything else for us?
Yeah, hey, congratulations to Stephen and Aisha Curry. They will be welcoming their 4th bundle of joy. It's sometime, I think, in July. Who's to say? But yeah, so we've got another one on the road, guys.
Got another one. Usually championships follow whenever his kids are born. Let me double check that.
Yeah.
But like I think that's like a thing.
It's a thing. I saw that posted somewhere. So that's great. We'll take it. We'll take every little bit that we can grasp, you know. And shout out to any new listeners out there. I've got one out there that I know. So kudos to you.
So I think Riley was born somewhere before they got their first championship, but Ryan was in 2015, Cannon in 2018. So those are 2 championship years. There was obviously no kid in 2022, but who knows? They're on a streak. So let's see. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. It's a short one, but we will see you guys after Milwaukee. That's going to be the more important game of the week. So we'll see you guys after Milwaukee. Make sure you are following us on all our socials, Instagram, Twitter, X, all of that, Golden Spaces Pod. Make sure you're listening to us on whatever platform you get your podcast, and watch us on YouTube. Leave a review, comment. We'll be doing a mailbag soon as well. So make sure you're sending your questions, and we will see you guys on the next one.
All right. Peace.